Hey everybody, welcome to my review of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, just a reminder, if you have never seen a review of mine, this review will be written from the perspective of completing every achievement in the game. I will of course provide my personal thoughts on the game itself and share my experience to a certain extent, but I will be doing my best to lay out the expectations you should have for this game and its achievements, so you completionists out there will know what you're in store for. Now, with that said, let's get started on this video. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, released in October 2021, focusing on the characters we all know and love from the movies in an alternate timeline, establishing themselves as the Guardians of the Galaxy and a force to be reckoned with. Now, when this game hit Xbox Game Pass, I was hesitant to hop onto it, but after I took a look at the achievement list, it seemed as though I was in for a fun story and action-packed gameplay with the characters I know and love, and a decent 1000 gamer score to go with it. And I was right, a fun story and a full list of those juicy achievements for me to complete. But it was more than just a story and a shooter. It was a charming adventure with friends that bicker and have differences of opinion, looking to their captain to help bring them together and come to a solution for the team. With fights that you could compare to the likes of Mass Effect, where you, playing as Star-Lord, can direct your crew to perform a chosen attack or move, resulting in some of the most insane and engaging combat I have encountered in a while. Building up the momentum meter to marvelous and having a chain attack with the crew each getting a hit in for the combo to seriously take down an enemy's health was just magical. Now, aside from the combat, this game had me smiling every time I strayed away from the main objective of the game, because each time the crew would say I'm wasting time and going the wrong way, or that I'm lost, which is an interesting mechanic in and of itself to inform you that you're exploring out of the way of the main objective, but it just added to the idea of a group of friends just trying to complete their job, while the aloof captain is just off getting distracted. Which, to be honest, I was all the time in search of collectibles, because aside from the benefit of unlocking achievements, not all of them are useless. Some of them offer the opportunity to have discussions with your crew on the Milano and learn more about their backstory. Some of the collectibles are costumes for your characters, and others are essentially text logs depicting the lore of the world you are adventuring around. Now, the amount may sound intimidating, but to unlock all of the achievements, you might be surprised at what you'll actually need to collect. So then, let's talk about the overview for what you need to do to attain all 58 achievements and the full 1000 gamer score for this game. To attain 100% of the gamer score, you will need a minimum of 1 playthrough on any difficulty, or 2 or more total playthroughs if you missed any achievements on your first run through. And, fun fact, completing the story alone will net you 30 achievements and 535 gamer score minimum simply for beating the story. That is over 50% of this game's achievements and gamer score all tied to the story, which is honestly a great thing to see and helped me personally focus on the story itself rather than focusing on a ton of the game's achievements. Next up, aside from completing the story, you will need to collect 65% of the Guardian collectibles across the game. All of the Guardian collectibles for a single Guardian, I personally found all of Rocket's Guardian collectibles, 100% of the costumes in the game, and 65% of the Galactic Compendium entries, which can be a bit confusing, but I will elaborate on this achievement in the related section of the video later on. You will also need to acquire all combat abilities and skills, which are both purchased and gained through the story, and can be completed at the earliest in Chapter 13. And then aside from all of that, you will need to complete a whole load of combat-based tasks, nearly all of which I was able to complete on my first playthrough throughout all of my fights. Although there are a few circumstantial achievements that I did not unlock, and they will be discussed later. Now, that is all you need to do to complete the game's achievements as an overview. In fact, I had completed 53 out of 58 of my achievements on my first playthrough without using a collectible guide. All I needed to do was load up New Game Plus to mop them up, which only took me until Chapter 7. However, I do recommend that you keep a collectible guide on hand, because when you have to play the full game just to reach a single collectible you missed, it's a huge bummer. But mopping up the collectibles in a second playthrough is not awful, of course. It is just not efficient, and I know how us completionists appreciate the efficiency at which we unlock our achievements. Speaking of efficiency, this is all estimated to take around 20 to 25 total gameplay hours for you to get 100%. This is what the community over at True Achievements would suggest, but personally I'd estimate lower. especially if you are efficient and can collect all collectibles in a single playthrough. Which I definitely was not, but you definitely can be now that you know what to expect. Alright, and now that we have completed our overview, you have a better idea of what you will need to complete. But now what I want to do is talk about a few specific achievements for varying reasons, ranging from being enjoyable, significant, just not a good achievement, or even just achievements that are worth elaborating on. That way, if you are wondering about any issues you might have with some achievements in this game, you'll have all the info you need before you even start up. So take advantage of the timecodes to jump around to specific sections you may be curious about. And just to make things easier to follow, I will be concluding each of the upcoming sections with a rating for each of the achievements. Those ratings can be negative, neutral, or positive, so keep watching to find out which achievement gets which rating. Now, let's start with one of the first achievements you will have the chance to unlock. Eat It, Rodent. This achievement is worth 15 gamer score and requires you to win the bet against Rocket. And this achievement was the very second achievement I unlocked, and I bet it will be the same for you. It is tied to the first level of the game, during which all of a sudden a scoreboard appears on your screen and Rocket says that he hacked your visor when you were sleeping, which is certainly true to character, but this sequence also gets you engaged and seeking out the targets to destroy to make sure you get enough points to beat Rocket. This then teaches you that you could use the visor to spot targets and important items, which you will then use throughout the game. And it also gets you engaged with the level itself and constantly keeping an eye out for targets. This is not a difficult achievement at all. Rocket can actually beat you, but that's only if you're not really trying. You can always reload the checkpoint if he does beat you, so this one is going to be a difficult one to miss. Overall, this achievement was a fun challenge and introduction to a bunch of different aspects of the gameplay that carry over throughout the entire story. And as a bonus, all of the bickering between Rocket and Star-Lord was pretty entertaining while completing this section. This achievement definitely gets a positive rating from me. Now let's talk about our next achievement, Galactic Frugality. This achievement is worth 15 gamer score and has an unlock requirement asking you to pay your Nova Core fine. Now this is an interesting and troublesome achievement. It is the only achievement aside from Collectibles that you can completely miss. This achievement requires you to spend around 7,000 to 9,000 credits to pay a fine to the Nova Core. This fine is given to you during one of the earlier chapters, and so you have the looming cost to worry about through a large portion of the story. If you play your cards right in a later chapter, you can earn a maximum of 12,000 credits, which will then leave you with a few thousand credits to spare on Nowhere, which I will discuss later on in the Lore Hoarder section, because you do want to spend money on Nowhere for that achievement, but you need to make sure that you have at least 9,000 credits. You can end up needing to pay only 7,000 credits to the Nova Core depending on how you handle certain dialogue options, but make sure you have the minimum amount of credits you need so you can ensure you'll be able to successfully unlock the achievement. The reason that this achievement is a bit troublesome is due to the fact that it is only completable during Chapter 9, meaning if you miss it during your initial playthrough or you do not have any credits, you need to complete over half of the story just to have a second attempt at it. So definitely keep this achievement in mind as you play if you want to avoid starting the story over again. With all of that said, this achievement gets a neutral rating from me due to its missable nature and all of the prerequisites that are required. I am personally quite fond of this achievement. It is a really interesting one due to the story relation and moral implications of paying the fine, but requiring you to complete all the way to Chapter 9 is a bit annoying for something so small that anybody could have skipped over when playing for their first time. But aside from paying for a fine, let's move on to our next achievement, Set 'em Up, Knock 'em Down. This achievement is worth 15 gamer score and requires you to defeat 15 staggered enemies with a charged shot. So this achievement is the one that I find either confusing or frustrating. I don't know which one I personally feel stronger, but this achievement is something that I did not unlock until one of the last chapters in the game. Reason being, it requires you to use the charged shot skill, which I never used for a significant portion of the game. I honestly forgot it even existed. And it's not even just the charged shot skill that you need to use, but the fact that they have to be staggered first and then you have to fully kill them with the charged shot. To be honest, the charged shots seem like a footnote in my arsenal and frankly underpowered. Maybe I missed a tutorial indicating that shooting a staggered enemy with a charged shot does more damage, but it felt as though I would have had no clue this was a tactic to use unless I knew the achievement existed, which I didn't. I only got this achievement because I looked up what I was missing and I noticed it. Almost every other achievement in this game is possible to unlock by playing naturally, but when it's only possible in specific circumstances, that's when it's troublesome. Because I had to perform a set of moves that I rarely ever would. And the way you perform a charge shot is also kind of funky. It's not necessarily bad, but it is just funky. I learned how to use charge shots by accident when I mistakenly double tapped the trigger to fire and it started charging up a shot. I understand this is simply a limitation of controller mapping, but it was just awkward to use, like having to double tap the fire button. It felt odd. I don't know how else to explain it. And the best way that there was to stagger an enemy would be to freeze or shock them so that they are stunned, and then finish them off with a charged attack. But then the other guardians would go in for the kill, so that was also really bothersome. However, after long enough, I did unlock the achievement, but it really took me out of the flow of combat when I was trying to complete it. I was freezing individual enemies and dropping their health low enough to kill them with a charge shot, when I would have much rather been popping off and going for a bunch of team abilities and combos. But you know what, that's just the way that some achievements go. They put you out of your comfort zone, and I appreciate that aspect, but when they remove you from the core gameplay and make you put yourself into a fixed situation, that slows things down in such a fast-paced game. It feels a bit unrefined and unfortunate. This achievement gets a negative rating from me. It isn't as if other achievements did not make you perform a task a set amount of times, because there are a lot of those achievements in this game, but they just seem far more natural. This achievement ruined my immersion and made me feel like I was putting myself out of the larger battle to focus on such a tedious task. And it's not the only achievement of its kind. But aside from a dreadful achievement like that, let's talk about our first collectible achievement, Fashion Passion. This achievement is worth 30 gamerscore and requires you to find and equip all outfits. This achievement is fortunately the only collectible related achievement that requires you to collect 100% of something. And having 45 outfits scattered throughout 15 levels of this game, that leaves you with roughly 3 outfits per level. Considering this achievement asks you to locate all of the outfits, I'd highly recommend you have a collectible guide ready. Even though I was trying my best to locate everything I could, I missed 3 outfits. Now I don't personally mind going about the collectibles this way, because I felt accomplished every time I found a collectible for myself. But a really annoying thing when you are going for collectibles is missing that single collectible near the end of the game and having to play through everything once again just because you missed it. This game is fun and all, but I have very little desire to play a game purely for the collectibles. Luckily for me, I only needed to replay the game in New Game Plus all the way to Chapter 7 to locate my final costume. But due to this being the only achievement requiring you to collect all of the collectibles of its type, which is not unique by any means, it left me feeling kind of iffy. I completely have no negative feelings for this achievement, but it didn't give me anything positive aside from a new costume to put on the characters. There is no chapter select, so you have better made a few different save files across the game to make sure you don't need to replay everything for a single costume in Chapter 15. For me, I give this achievement a neutral rating. Like, it's an achievement, you know what I'm saying? Nothing special, and it's definitely nothing new. The only saving grace is the fact that it provides you with some variation in the look of your characters. But moving on from that average collectible achievement, we've got an honestly decent pair in this next section. Let's talk about Thoughtful Captain and Managerial Skills. Both of these achievements add up to a total of 45 gamerscore, and both of these achievements are related to collecting the Guardian collectibles located throughout the game. Now, these achievements are definitely worth discussing. There's something unique that I have not frequently come across over the years. This isn't revolutionary by any means, but these achievements only ask you to collect 50% of this total type of collectible, and only 100% of the collectibles that apply to a single Guardian. Which means you could do what I did with these collectibles and simply try your best to find them without using a guide, and you'll honestly have a fairly high chance of unlocking both of these achievements yourself, just like I did. Now, let's also talk about what a Guardian collectible is. It is an item that acts as a memento to one of the Guardians, and these mementos can be examined aboard the ship, which will then produce a discussion between you and a crewmate, allowing for a deep conversation regarding the past of one of the characters. delving into their backstory and helping you understand them further and further as an individual. One of my personal favorites was a collectible related to Gamora. It was a doll that you purchase at the Emporium on Nowhere, and after purchasing it, you can go and examine it on the Milano and begin speaking to Gamora, where you can start up a discussion about her childhood, which, if you are unaware, is heavily related to Thanos and Nebula. She describes a situation where she received a single gift from Thanos when she was young, a doll. And that doll was not a true gift. It was a twisted tool for teaching Gamora and Nebula to learn how meaningless it is to have attachments. And that is simply fascinating to me. To listen to and engage in a conversation with the characters in this world, where they discuss their individual backstories in this way, is simply fantastic. It gives a true purpose to me to want to collect as many Guardian collectibles as I can, because I truly care about Star-Lord learning to communicate with Groot through a translation device, and I care about Rocket's backstory where he was being absolutely tortured by the Kree. Because these are all characters I have a connection with in some way or another, and understanding them further gives me a deeper understanding of what makes them who they are. These two achievements 100% receive a positive rating from me. If you can, I'd highly encourage you to collect every single Guardian collectible and experience these conversations yourself. I guarantee that you will not regret it. Now, when I say that you won't regret it, I mean it, because the next achievement we will talk about is going to ask you to do just that. So let's talk about the achievement Lore Hoarder. This achievement is worth 30 gamerscore and has a description requiring you to collect 65% of all Galactic Compendium entries of each category. Now, this achievement requires you to be quite vigilant. The Galactic Compendium can be considered a collection of lore information available through the game menus. 4 out of these 6 sections get filled in as you play through the game, and the only sections you need to actually pay attention to completing would be the Archive section and the Items section. The Archive section is directly related to the Archive collectibles located around the game. They are these tiny collectibles that act as text logs for the game's lore. They are pretty easy to miss, so I'd recommend you use a collectible guide for these as well. I did not use a guide, and I needed to replay the game until Chapter 5 to complete this achievement. So it isn't an awful amount, especially if you try your best to locate as many as possible through the game. Now, the item section is directly related to the Guardian collectibles that were previously discussed. Some of the items in this section are populated by story items like the Chewbacca toy, but if you can make sure that you visit the Emporium during Chapter 6 while on Nowhere, you can get a ton of compendium entries from interacting with the items inside there, which increases your chances of unlocking this achievement on your first playthrough. That is only, of course, if you can afford the ticket to enter in. You want to make sure that you have enough to pay the fine later on in the game, so keep that in mind if you plan to visit the Emporium on your first playthrough. I personally did not enter the Emporium at all, and I still unlocked my achievement. Although, once again, it was on my second playthrough. Now, to be honest, most of the item entries you're going to get are not going to come from the Emporium, but are going to be filled by you talking to the Guardians about their collectibles while on the Milano. So make sure that whenever you return to the Milano and you are told that there is a collectible in someone's room, you examine it. And ensure that you complete both of the discussion prompts with that specific Guardian, or else it will not qualify and it will not complete the compendium entry for you. So once you have collected enough of the archive collectibles and filled in enough of the item entries, you will have unlocked this achievement. For me, I unlocked it while speaking to Gamora about one of her collectibles, and I'd bet that you will have a similar experience of it popping when you are talking to a Guardian. Alright, now as for my rating, personally, I'd give this a neutral rating. It's kind of confusing and hard to tell what you need, but I'm happy to say it is not asking you to fill in 100% of the compendium entries. I would not be able to tell you how many more you need to collect for 100%, but 65% minimum feels like just the right amount for this achievement. Not asking too much, but a bit of a challenge. And talking about a bit of a challenge, let's talk about the next point of discussion, all of the call to action achievements. So this would include No Way Novacore, Drax the Dismemberer, Groot Canal, and Slake Buster, all adding up to 60 gamerscore total, and each having a description requiring you to perform a call to action with a specific character. Now, similarly to Set 'em Up, Knock 'em Down, this group of achievements requires fixed circumstances. You need to locate each type of enemy and then get the specific Guardian to perform a call to action move on that enemy. So let's talk about the struggles you will have with these achievements. For me, it was just a matter of getting these events to take place to begin with. I completed the entire story and I only unlocked No Way Nova Corps, which I completed in Chapter 7. For this achievement, you need Gamora to perform her call to action on a Nova Centurion, which seems to be the most common one people have unlocked without trying. Now, as for the other 3, I had not encountered these prompts even once in my original playthrough. Fortunately, I had saves for each point in the story where they would easily be done. Those saves were in Chapter 8 and Chapter 13, where you can complete the achievements Drax the Dismemberer and Groot Canal. But for Slakebuster, this would be easiest done in Chapter 3, so for me, I had saved that one for New Game Plus. Drax the Dismemberer requires you to perform Drax's call to action on an Inquisitor, which is an enemy type that first shows up in Chapter 7. The trick to completing this achievement was to lower the health of the enemy super low and wait for Drax to be near them, hoping that the prompt would show up. For me, it showed up after about 5 minutes of waiting with Drax near the enemy. Once it finally took place, that was 2 out of 4 call to action achievements completed. Next up was Groot Canal, where you need Groot to perform his call to action on a charger. In this case, it was in Chapter 13 against the Wendigo enemy type. For this one, it took roughly 5 minutes as well, and I literally did nothing here. All that I did was sit around waiting for Groot's prompt to show up. Once it did, I jumped on the chance to activate the attack and bam, that's 3 out of 4 call to action achievements unlocked. Finally, on to the last one, Slakebuster. This achievement is the one that caused the most trouble for me for sure. Reason being, it required the enemy to have 0 stagger built up and have low health. If it had any stagger, the call to action would go to Gamora or Groot, which is really annoying if you are only trying to get Drax to attack. This means that all I could do was bring its health down. No ice shots, no special attacks, only bring its health down with my guns. And even if the prompt showed up, it had a chance to go to Gamora or Groot still. So you had to be very aware of what the prompt was for to make sure it wasn't stolen by them. Once Drax finally got his chance after about 15 minutes, the achievement popped for me. And finally, that is 4 out of 4 call to action achievements unlocked. And with that, this section is also coming to a close. If you cannot tell by my lengthy explanations or even the relation of this achievement to the previously discussed achievement Set 'em Up, Knock 'em Down, this achievement receives a negative rating. Truly an achievement that is related to RNG and not even close to something that requires skill or work. It is entirely circumstantial and it was entirely a waste of my efforts. Definitely not enjoyable and definitely not fun. Now, with that negativity out of the way, let's get to the final achievement I want to discuss, Mama's Boy. This achievement is worth 15 gamerscore and it is a secret achievement. So since this achievement is a secret achievement, it should be a bit obvious why. This achievement is story related and it will unlock as long as you play through the game. The reason I want to talk about this achievement specifically is because it is honestly one of the more profound moments I personally experienced in the game. It takes place in a dream sequence where you have to determine what the action required is, and this decision and sequence as a whole sent chills down my spine. I could not have asked for a better sequence, and I think this game's story, characters, and moments like this one deserve a ton of credit. I will be leaving this section to only what I have said for brevity's sake, so this is where I will end this achievement's discussion. This achievement definitely gets a positive rating from me. I highly recommend that you play through the game yourself and find out how to unlock it. Alright, and with that final achievement, we have come to the end of this video. In my personal opinion, this game is a must play if you are a Marvel fan, especially if you're a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy specifically. Aside from the achievements and the gameplay, this game's story is something special. It really did feel to me as if I was watching a 16-chapter Guardians movie. The highs and the lows, the action and the music, all of it was so well crafted and felt incredibly natural and fitting for the characters that we know and love. Keeping the achievement list in mind with this review, it is even more of a must play. The achievements are not extremely difficult and a ridiculous amount unlocked for you just by playing through the story naturally. And as a bonus, the game is on Game Pass, meaning you could purchase Game Pass for 1 month and then just cancel it when you finish the game, and you would not even be paying close to full price. It is an incredible chance to play this game with Game Pass for sure. I would 100% recommend this to any completionists watching this video, Just keep in mind that if you are not using a collectible guide, you may need a second playthrough like I did, especially if you do not visit the Emporium in Chapter 6 when you're on nowhere. Now, a game with a good story and a good achievement list doesn't exactly feel common these days, at least to me. This game's story and list was a treat to complete, and I highly encourage you all to give it a shot. And even if you're not a completionist, see how many achievements you can get without even using a collectible guide. You might be surprised with how many unlock just by you playing the game and not paying any attention to the collectibles in the levels. Now, as a final closing note for my personal review and a conclusion to this review as a whole, if you are on the fence about playing this game for whatever reason, be it the story or the length of the game, I encourage you to watch the upcoming clip I am going to be showing, just to understand that this game is something special and meaningful for any Marvel fan. Be warned, this contains minor spoilers for the first 6 chapters of the game, but does not ruin the main story at all. If you wish to skip this sequence, take advantage of the playbar sections or skip to the displayed timecode if you do not want to watch it. Or close this video because all that will be left after this clip is the video's outro. Anyway, with that said, enjoy.
Drax, bud. Is everything alright?
You believe that this is the edge of the universe, Peter Quill?
Well, yeah, because it is. So, this is the thing you had to do? Come to the observation deck to look at the rift?
No. I came to honor the memory of my family. They died without meaning or honor.
I think I know what you mean, man. My mom won the Chitauri game. She also died for no reason. They just shot her. But at least she's in a better place now. Right?
In Catathian religion, we believe that in order to reach Ultaf, one must lead a life filled with purpose. And that failure to do so results in banishment to Sarduth. Our families have been cast out of paradise, Peter Quill, and into nothing.
So that's why you come up here.
Yes. To feel close to them. Speak to them. Perhaps you think that sounds foolish.
No, not at all. You know, on Earth, a lot of people think that good people go to heaven and are reunited with their loved ones when they die.
This heaven sounds pleasant.
Yeah, it does. Thinking of her there, my mom, in heaven, got me halfway through the war. That and my hate for the Chitauri who imprisoned me.
You desired revenge.
Yeah, I guess I did.
When Thanos murdered my family, for a long time I believed that their wasted lives would be redeemed if I took revenge on him. But then I realized Thanos cannot be killed.
But you did kill him.
Propaganda, Peter Quill. Spread to quell fears after the war. The fabric of my being, I know he still lives. If you do not mind, Peter Quill, I would like to be left alone now.
Oh, yeah, sure, man.
Will.
Yeah.
I hope your mother found her way to heaven.
Whew. Wow. This video was tons of fun for me to edit, write, and gather all of the clips and graphics. I'm honestly really happy with how the video turned out, and I hope you did find it interesting. I've been experimenting with different kinds of content for my channel lately, if you haven't noticed. I'm looking into doing some more casual things, going to continue with the usual achievement guides of course, but just really excited to have fun with my YouTube channel. I am also planning to start streaming once I reach a certain milestone with this channel, so if you are interested in dropping into a stream and chatting, hopefully playing together even, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be sharing more details once I reach around 500 subs. That's currently my goal before I start committing myself to a streaming schedule or a more fixed content schedule. Anyways, I do appreciate you watching this video, especially if you made it to this point. I talked a fair amount, and just knowing that one person has come all the way to the end of the video just to hear me talk a bit more means a very great deal to me. Alright, this is the end of the video. Check out some of my recent uploads, maybe see if I posted anything you're interested in on my channel. Take a look at my playlist of reviews in the description, and finally, have a great day everybody.